questions, your concerns, and make recommendations. This evening, the Prime Minister is joined by persons who work within the national security architecture. He has, as part of his panel, the coordinator for the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program, Major Coyote Sutton. We also have the Director of the Forensic Department with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Mrs. Latoya Lake Marshall, as well as the Acting Telecommunications Officer with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Julian Marishaw. So at this moment, we're going to make a slight change to the format we usually present, and we're going to begin hearing from the panelists first. That means that we're going to go with you, Mr. Major Sutton, if that's okay.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to come on this program this evening. I am the coordinator for the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program, that is ALPP. So I'm just going to bring a brief introduction to the public on what the program is doing and what achievements we have made thus far. I'm sure that the information on the program this is not the first time that you're getting information on this program, so I'm just going to bring an update. The Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program, ALPP, commonly referred to as a PEACE program, is a program carefully developed by experts in the field of social intervention, crime and violence, and to lend an opportunity to at-risk individuals in our society, to provide them with a second chance to live a life free of crime and violence, and to learn to become productive contributors and respected members of the society. It focuses on the at-risk, marginalized, disenfranchised, and traumatized in our society, and also persons meeting these criteria that are in need of being re-socialized. Having been released from incarceration, the ALPP is an intervention strategy that provides opportunities for the individuals described to be able to learn, to adopt, and display acceptable behaviors and become positive contributors to the development of the nation. And the ALPP has had the full support of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis throughout. Now, the background details. I would like to remind the public that the ALPP started on 13th March 2019. It has been in place for only 3 years to date and has gone through a number of developmental cycles as it evolved. In the initial stage, we tried to keep the groups gainfully occupied, ensuring that they become aware to alternatives to violence and ways the societies function. The participants were further exposed to personal financial management as they learned the value of opening and operating personal accounts. They learned the value of work and receive wages for work done at the market value. They were encouraged to make project proposals and were, where this were feasible, encouraged to seek loan and pursue the legitimate ambitions. So where are we today? On the 18th of January 2022, the ALPP launched its Lifestyle Training and Exposure Program. This is a representative for Phase 3 in the engagement cycle of the strategy for dealing with at-risk groups. This program has two components, namely the delivery of soft skill and hard skills. Now, the soft skill entails teaching the participants to respect self and others, introduction to business, tolerance, communication and listening skills, problem solving, anger management, empathy, developing goals, self-management, self-concept, integrity, resilience, responsibility, accountability, attitude, self-esteem, stress management, budgeting, financial literacy, and the list goes on. Now, the hard skill entails essential vocational training like general construction, carpentry, masonry, AC installation and servicing, motor vehicle service and repairs for men and women, upholstery, backhoe operation, welding, basic electrical and electronics, general cosmetology, basic sound engineering, landscaping, fish pot making, cooking, cake making, and so forth. Now, it's important to mention that certification for the courses and training listed above, which are part of the components of the phase training that we talked about, are to be accredited upon completion by the participants on the program. The intervention strategy is an all-government private sector approach that sees interactions and working along with various ministries and departments of government and a variety of private sector entities and individuals who volunteer their time and expertise to the good cause of lending support to at-risk marginalized in the society. And there's a number of ministries and government establishments and businesses that we would like to recognize. The partnership with the civil extends to the civilian as facilitators. They come to help us to train the participants, and we also partner with ministries of agriculture, tourism, education, sustainable development, gender affairs, national security, youth, culture and sports. And then we also partner with, of course, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force throughout all the engagement, because they are the sole, they have the sole ownership of this strategy. And we also get assistance from civic-minded private citizens, and also get assistance from businesses. The soft skill component of the program requires compulsory attendance by all ALPP participants. They are quite aware of this, that if you don't attend the training, you do not get paid. This is due to be completed in April 2022, and the hard skill component is currently being developed and is slated to commence or at about May 2022. The plan is for participants to receive appropriate certification for the components successfully completed. Now, persons traumatized by violence, initially it was mentioned that the database for persons traumatized by violence is still being compiled, and as alluded to, when this is complete, it will be added to the appropriate authorities for their actions. So let's look at some of the results that we've been able to achieve on the ALPP program to date. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force engagement with at-risk disenfranchised has significantly improved, with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force assigned personnel readily available to assist with conflict or feud as they emerge or develop amongst participants on the program. The engagement of at-risk population commenced in March 2019, and the spate of gang-induced homicide by use of a gun has significantly reduced. Evidence is in the police data reports on crime and violence. Communities previously traumatized by gangs and gang-induced violence have been living in peace and harmony. This contributes to some of the intangible gains on the strategy. Persons have since experienced freedom of movement within and across communities and at large public spaces that was literally forbidden before the intervention. Some communities and persons have embarked on joint ventures for the betterment of themselves, their families, and the entire community. We have been seeing improved behavior in individuals and groups that are more in keeping with what the society requires and general norms. Businesses have continued to report that they are able to operate in a much better environment, especially this time when the nation is recovering from the COVID pandemic. And generally, families and communities have improved tremendously, and fathers are involved in the raising of their children, and they support their families. Now, this is not limited to the number of gains that we see, but we continue to develop the program, and we continue to make significant progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Major Sutton. We'll now hear from the Director of the Forensic Department with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Latoya Lake Marshall.
A blessed good evening to the viewers of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis or via the World Wide Web. Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, the moderator, panelists. Forensic science is a biological and technological process used in the criminal justice system to positively detect criminal activity and offenders. Let's take a walk outside of the norm and journey on the scientific and biological side of operations. I am Latoya Lake Marshall, Forensic Director, Forensic Crime Scene Expert, and Criminologist of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force for the past 3 years. I was born in the Twin Island state of Antigua and Barbuda, and I am a graduate of the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York with a bachelor's in criminal justice with 4 concentrations: forensics, police studies, criminology, and law. I served within the Royal Police Force of Antigua and Barbuda for over 18 years and have processed in excess of 2,000 scenes or more within my tenure, and have been involved in numerous high-profile matters within Antigua. I am a certified member of the CAFS, the Caribbean Association of Forensic Specialists, UE, and sit on many forensic forums internationally and regionally, to include the UN LIREC National Action Plan Committee for the illicit movement of firearms, lead crime scene official on the arson investigations team, and have worked along with the Scotland Yard, ATF representatives, and FBI for internal investigations within the Caribbean spectrum. I am in charge of operations of the Forensic Crime Scene Department and a team comprising of civilians and police officers, staff capacity to date of 14 persons, including 11 responding technicians and lab techs between Nevis and Bastia, a drug analyst, exhibits custodian, maintenance technician, ballistics examiner, fingerprint examiner. The entire forensic department is made up of CSI Bastia, where responses, arrest processing, and official fingerprinting documents for the public are done from the police headquarters, CSI Nevis Charlestown Police Station, and our very own Tabernacle Forensic Lab. As director, it is my responsibility to ensure that my staff is equipped with the necessary tools and training to efficiently and effectively process all crime scenes, analyze and apply adequate scientific techniques to achieve positive or negative results to aid in criminal investigations. I review and study all matters responded to by my technicians and devise the correct scientific approach to effectively make links to other crimes and identify perpetrators via their DNA, fingerprints, or touch DNA. I also act as a liaison to all external forensic labs and counterparts to efficiently direct the proceedings of all matters that are under our investigations. Presently, all DNA testing is executed with our counterparts, Cellmark Forensics in the UK, until our capacity is upgraded to execute this type of testing. I would like to openly commend the government under the leadership of Dr. Timothy Harris for taking the bold approach in recognizing that scientific investigation is indeed the most effective and efficient method in crime fighting worldwide. St. Kitts and Nevis has invested greatly in the science, and I can proudly say that over the past 3 years, we have seen a significant decrease in homicides and crime and have accomplished major links due to the science and combined efforts of investigators. In 2011, there was a peak in homicides where the Federation was experiencing up to 35 homicides for that year alone. Solvability rate was 25%, 2014, 33%, 2015, 21%. The government saw the need to address this situation of low detection, hence my attachment in December 2018, along with other programs targeted at higher detection of crimes. As early as last year, detection in homicide was significant, 54% for the Federation, St. Kitts showing 66%, and Nevis 25%. 2018, 16 links were made via our AFIS, that is our automated fingerprint identification systems. Serious crime to include rape, robbery, murder. 20 out of 23 matters solved. 2019, we had a solvability rate within our department alone of 69.57% at the beginning of that year, and we increased by the year end to 86%. Of those percentages, solvability on a high scale was due to the effects of science, ballistics, AFIS systems, and DNA analysis. Major links via DNA was evident, where recent links to rape, robbery, and murder was made in 2021, where one suspect was positively linked to 6 scenes. Additionally, in ballistics, we have linked this year a double homicide to a particular firearm. Our services relied upon heavily by the courts to strengthen evidence brought before them, as scientific proof serves as a definitive approach to convictions or exonerations as opposed to the past where circumstantial evidence was the sole solvent. Clearly, an investigator's aim is to positively get a conviction on a case in some instances, but within the function of the forensic specialist, we are to guide investigators as to if that suspect is in fact, via scientific results, the perpetrator or not. Please be guided that not all scenes possess forensic potential. There are some matters where forensic techniques cannot apply, and direct and circumstantial evidence must bear weight. Our forensic lab is fully operational, and a lot goes on behind our doors. We have achieved a number of hits over the years, and recently from our AFIS examiners, SPO Weeks from Nevis, and fingerprint examiner Dunrod. We are equipped with technological equipment amounting to millions of dollars used for fingerprint analysis and lifting to include our high-tech AFIS systems, DCS, supergluing chamber, and infrared equipment. We definitely will be gearing towards training and upgrading towards DNA analysis. We also boast of our ballistics department, which is supervised by my SPO and your very own ballistics examiner, Mr. Damien Challenger, with over 20 plus years of experience. Our ballistics department is equipped with one of the best, if not the best, comparison microscope, where we analyze ballistic material from all shooting scenes, and we have made major hits. Our ballistics examiner has served in neighboring islands such as St. Lucia, Dominica, and Anguilla, who have requested our service, and their work was executed via our very own lab. It is our aim to develop to a level where we will serve outside of the Federation to effectively contribute to the national budget revenue via sales of our services. Presently, we are on our last leg approach in the completion of our own test firing range, an added exhibit storage room with cool storage room. St. Kitts and Nevis presently stands out with strides being made towards forensics. Our technicians are now on a journey where they will be put to the test. Constant training, intense assessments, and on-the-spot checks in order to be brought up to the level for international accreditation. Forensic anthropology, DNA trace testing, ballistics, and the use of underwater drones are some of the areas targeted. 4 technicians recently completed a serial restoration course directed by UN representative and European ballistics expert, Mr. Philip Boyce. All were successful and received certification. They will now be looked upon to assist in restorations with the ballistics examiner. All training received and evolving techniques acquired must be applied in that technician's response routine. The stats display our hard work, and we will continue to produce and make use of the resources provided to us to keep the Federation safe. Thank you very much for listening to me and our work.
And thank you very much, Mrs. Marshall. We're now going to hear from the Acting Telecommunications Officer with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Julian Marischal. Mr. Marischal?
Yes. Pleasant good night, listening and viewing audience, both home and abroad. Also, Prime Minister Harris and you, the moderator. I am very happy to be given the opportunity, to be given a chance to be on this program, to give a brief rundown of the Police Telecommunication Department and its responsibilities in crime prevention and detection. I assume the post of Acting Telecommunication Officer on November 1st, 2019. I oversee the Telecommunications Department of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. It includes 911 Dispatch Center, the switchboard for police headquarters, and technical division, which is responsible for maintaining and repairing all police equipment in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the closed-circuit television, CCTV camera system. This department is also the tsunami focal point for the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. CCTV is used as a crime-fighting tool, such as the department plays a critical role in the overall strategy of the police force to keep St. Kitts and Nevis safe, a safe place to live, play, work, and to raise families. It is an initiative that requires a large amount of investment to get off the ground and continuous investment to keep it up and running properly. Because it was considered the important part of the strategy to maintain security, the government of the Federation invests millions of dollars into the project already and has received financial support from the government of China and Taiwan. I commend the Prime Minister Harris and his cabinet for making such of an investment. Firstly, the CCTV cameras are an effective deterrent to potential criminals as their use increase the risk of identifying through the camera footage. Thus, the cameras make it more difficult to commit an offense without being caught. It means then that intruders will likely move on. Secondly, in the event that an offense is committed, the cameras can assist in identifying the offender so that they be brought to justice. The cameras are also equipped with night vision capabilities and assist with tracking of criminals. When I first joined the department, Phase 1 was still being rolled out. Phase 1 started in 2017 in the Bath Stair, Frigate Bay, and Canary areas. Following assessment of the various locations, the cameras were strategically placed. Currently, the system is operated and maintained at police headquarters. The system is operated and maintained at police headquarters. Unless there is a technical issue with the cameras, they record 24 hours per day. Phase 1 of the project was primarily supported wirelessly, but have since then gradually upgraded to fiber optics, which has enhanced the quality of the image we receive and has allowed more advanced features to be activated. At present, Phase 2 and 3 are currently ongoing. Phase 2 is being implemented on the eastern side of the island, and Phase 3 covers Nevis and be implemented with the assistance of the Nevis Island Administration Technology Department. Since the implication of CCTV cameras by the government, business and private home owners have been able to purchase surveillance cameras for their homes under the duty-free concession program introduced by the government. The use of both government and private-owned cameras have contributed to an increase of crime detection rate. We have also seen a decrease in the number of house break-ins that have been reported. It has been proven that CCTV cameras help solve cases in St. Kitts and Nevis in two aspects. They give the police an idea of the offender, and two, they lead the police in the right direction. From 2017 to date, over 500 footage was used in investigation in cases by the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Mr. Marishaw. And now we're going to hear from the host of the program, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, who brings you this Leadership Matters program on a regular basis. Mr. Prime Minister?
Thank you very much, Jackie. My fellow citizens and residents, welcome to another edition of Leadership Matters. This popular interactive program is another example of good governance at work. It provides our citizens and residents an opportunity to express their views and influence government policy on a range of matters of national interest. Tonight, of course, we are focusing on issues relating to the safety and security of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. This, in my view, is a crucial matter. Arguably, the most important role of the Prime Minister and Minister of National Security is to keep its people safe, keep our people safe and secure, safe from harm, protected against crimes and lawlessness. In our support for law and order, the judiciary, and in the build-out of our socio-economic programs, the Team Unity Administration has been delivering on its commitment to keep our people safe. In this regard, it is important to note that the highest ever level of financial support provided to our people's safety and security was in 2020, where $99.2 million was budgeted to national security. This was up 40 million or 68% above the $59.4 million budgeted for the year 2015 by the bygone administration. Sometimes people take for granted our track record in delivering and our commitment to make St. Kitts and Nevis one of the safest places to live, work, and play. Some may quickly recall a time when homicides were alarmingly high, reaching the zenith, if you will, of 35 in 2011. It is good to know that homicides, the most egregious of all crimes, are now at an all-time low. And we are experiencing significant movement towards achieving that stronger and safer future our citizens and residents were promised and deserve. We have achieved the best crime detection rate in over 20 years last year. There is, of course, no room for complacency, and we would wish to reach a point where homicides no longer occur in our federation. This is, of course, an aspirational goal which will keep us working hard. Our success so far in crime fighting is as a result of substantial investment in our security infrastructure, building new and renovating other police stations, Defense Force and Coast Guard facilities, investment in CCTV monitoring system, provision of an adequate supply of vehicles, the construction and build-out of our forensic lab, investment in hard infrastructure, while improving the environment for work to be done, clearly is not the end in itself. It must be buttressed by training, intelligence-led proactive policing, and introduction of strategic programs that de-incentivize criminal activities and encourage persons to become law-abiding citizens and residents. Two such novel programs are: one, the Explorers Youth Program, with its structured orientation, training, and development support for our young people, emphasis on skills of learning to live and work together, inculcating positive lifestyles, including the discipline to refrain from the use of drugs, guns, and illegal substances. Today, our Explorers Club has over 1,200 members, and it is the largest youth association in our country. It is making our schools safer and providing loving support to vulnerable children in coping with daily challenges and building their resilience, enhancing their skills and God-given talents. The second strategic intervention I wish to make reference to, of course, has been touched on by Captain Sutton, the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program. This is geared at adults, many of whom were engaged in criminal activity or under the influence of gangs. The program is still new and evolving, but the results so far have been beneficial to our society as a whole. Captain Sutton made reference to some. I would add these to what he has already enumerated. The Alternative Lifestyle Program has succeeded in reducing inter-gang rivalry and the number of fatal shooting incidents in St. Kitts and Nevis. It has reduced the number of children who have lost their fathers to gun and gang violence, and by extension, it has curbed the number of mourning mothers whose children have been lost so prematurely in the prime of their lives. And on that note, it still stays with me, the plea of one mother one Juve morning when she approached me, and she said to me, "Dr. Harris, I don't care what people are saying about the peace program. Continue to do what you're doing." She said that she had lost her son to gun violence, and up to that day she was still in grief. She did not want that trauma to be inflicted on any other mother. So that was an eyewitness account to the success of the program. Additionally, from all evidence, we know that this program has helped in the protection of our nuclear family. Mother, father, and children are together again in happy homes. It has provided an alternative path to life and living by offering legitimate work from which persons can earn a living. It has provided opportunity for self-employment instead of social deviance and the creation of a new era of constructive engagement as entrepreneurs complying with the law. It has contributed to the general peace dividend that our country has been experiencing, particularly over the last 5 years. Safer streets. We can walk from west to east of Barclay in an atmosphere and an environment of calm and peace. Yes, once again, there's a feeling of calm and tranquility in this, our beautiful country. The program has helped to bring about greater cohesiveness in society as more members of our society learn to live together, breaking down the barriers of the gang lifestyle and living together in unity as brothers and sisters, and just simply as fellow human beings. Tonight, we have learned more about these programs from some of the very persons who are actively engaged in crime fighting and ensuring that St. Kitts and Nevis receives the stronger, safer future that it deserves. I want to welcome and thank Captain Coyote Citizen, who has assumed the challenging role of coordinator of the Alternatives Lifestyle Pathway Program. Captain Sutton comes with a wealth of experience in security management and in public relations, having served in our defense force before going abroad to study, pursuing a master's degree program, and coming back just in time to take over the leadership of this program. The reports about his performance so far are quite commendable, and I hope that we'll continue to hear good things about you, Captain Sutton. Equally, I want to commend Mrs. Latoya Lake Marshall, who is the director of our forensic unit, for the wonderful leadership she has been provided in this regard. And from our own detailed accounts, we have seen that we have been able to solve several crimes as a result of the application of the science and, of course, all the resources within our forensic department. So thank you, Lady Marshall, for coming from Antigua, for staying here and falling in love with our people and our country, and doing the very best you can to assist us in achieving the stronger and safer future which deserve. I want to commend Julian Marishaw, the acting telecommunications officer, for his work. He has taken over a senior position in the police force in which he has served, most importantly in the area of telecommunications. I commend all your collective efforts and our collective efforts, because our success in making St. Kitts and Nevis safe will depend not just on the security personnel, but on every citizen and resident playing a part. You see something, say something, help us solve each and every crime. May St. Kitts and Nevis forever be a real land of beauty, where peace abounds, and our children and our grandchildren can stand freely. To God I give the glory for the successes to date, and I thank the good people of St. Kitts and Nevis for their wonderful support for law enforcement in our country, and for their continuing faith and support in the government's ability to protect them by the grace of God. Thank you very much for viewing.
And thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. We have this program being run live on several radio stations, so I just thought I'd let you know there are many options for listening and viewing this program. Live, it can be viewed live on ZSZ Television, and it can be listened to on ZSZ Radio. Joining us, we also have Freedom FM, Sugar City FM, Vaughan Radio, Win FM, and this is in addition to The program being streamed live on the Facebook and YouTube platforms of ZIZ and the St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service, also known as SKNIS. Now that we've heard from the Prime Minister and his guests, it's time to hear from you, our listeners and viewers. So, let me share the numbers with you so you can gear up to call. The numbers to call in are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and 1-239-645-4500. Those numbers are listed at the bottom of the screen for your convenience. So we have WhatsApp numbers that you can send information to as well. You can send your questions and comments there just in case you're not in a position to participate by calling in. And those numbers are 661-5683. That's 661-5683, as well as 660-7168. That's 660-7168. And we try to take as many calls and messages as possible. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to hear from you. Stay tuned.
In your kitchen, Dave!
Yo, Sugar Boy, walk on, boy!
Well, In Your Kitchen Season 1 done, so I just jump in to see what next. But I see you all busy, so you look like something again.
Yeah, man, for Season 2, the In Your Kitchen team is stepping out of the studio and into the community.
Yes, viewer, and don't forget that we're looking for the best and baddest reps in the community and of course, St. Kitts and Nevis.
What? I mean, I'm not bad in the kitchen, but I best on the mic. So I think I can continue hosting these events. So which community IS stepping up to the stove now? Okay, Assistant the point. SP where the best be, March 20th. Queen City Nevis, April 16th. Bastille, May 2nd, Labor Day, and Kayan, Green Valley, you know, June 6th. All the winners get to meet up in the final competition in August, the third week of SK and Move Challenge. Nice! Whoa! This competition gonna be tight! Let me see what's going on here now. Yo, Michael! You ready for this thing or what?
Hey, Nevis, stay ready, so we don't have to get ready. You bringing the trophy home.
Okay then, see you in the competition. All right then. Hey, so if you feel your community got what it takes, well, step up and show us, and let's see what go on in your kitchen.
Welcome back to the Leadership Matters program, which is hosted regularly by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. And every time he hosts this program, not only does he update you on things that are taking place in the Federation, but he also invites guests who can bring you updates on the various sectors, whether it's in the private sector or the public sector. And they are also here to answer your questions. Yes, they make themselves available to you to answer your questions, hear your concerns, and recommendations. So at this stage, we're going to go to the phone lines. Allow me to share the numbers with you once again. The call-in numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and 1-239-645-4500. We also have two WhatsApp numbers that you can send information to, and they are 661-5683, that's 661-5683, and the second is 660-7168, that's 660-7168. The call-in numbers are listed for your convenience at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to go to the phone lines now. I only ask that our callers be as brief as possible so we can get as many calls in as possible, because that's one of the major issues. We never have enough time to take all the calls. So we'll go straight to the phone lines. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Caller, you're live.
Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, good night to you, the host, Jackie, for another edition of Leadership Matters. And I will start off by acknowledging the Prime Minister of being in charge of security. He's the Prime Minister, and he has taken up the portfolio of national security. So great job in that sector. I want to move on to Captain Coyote Sutton. This is Bucky got it and Bucky has got it. I must commend you and taking up the challenge for the job as coordinator of the peace program. What has impacted you, Mr. Sutton, about the program? Do you think it is achieving its objectives? Now to Miss Lady Marshall, I also want to give you commendation also on your job. You have provided us with some statistics on how our forensic lab help to solve crime. Would you be able to provide any recent major success? And at last, Mr. Mauricio, will you say our investment in the CCTV program has delivered a result? This is Bucky got it, and Bucky has got it. Over and out.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Hello, good night.
Hi, good evening.
I want to say good evening to you, good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Harris, and to the panelists that is there, Mr. Sutton, Mr. Morshaw, and Mrs. Lake. I'm forgetting the last name. I don't have much of any questions because I was very intently listening. But I want to commend the Prime Minister for his work and the other panelists for their work in achieving the level of national security apparatus that I'm seeing in the country, where I'm seeing a level of there's far away reduction of crime compared to many years back. I am living here as a non-national and I can sleep with my door open. It is not something I was privileged to do in my former country. And so I want to commend the Prime Minister for his hard work. And I want to commend the peace program in particular, because I believe that it has a place in the society that we must decide. Oftentimes it's not something that we want to do in terms of the budgetary allocation, but we must decide what we value the most. Do we value security? Do we value I see there's investment in education and health, but we also have to value peace and national security. And so I just really want to commend the team for the work that they're doing, commend the PM once again for his work as Minister of National Security, because I believe in this decade, 2000, has been the first the country has been recording this level of reduction in homicides. And so it's obvious that something is going on well. That's my...
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution to the program. Allow me to use this opportunity to just remind you of who the guests are, which I failed to do once we returned. And we have with us this evening the coordinator of the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program, also called the ALPP, Major Coyote Sutton, and the director of the Forensic Department with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Latoya Lake Marshall, as well as the acting telecommunications officer, also with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Julian Marishaw. And as pointed out earlier, the Prime Minister is also the Minister of National Security. So those are our guests this evening. We'll go back to the phone lines. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good night to each and everyone on Leadership Matters. This one is for Mr. Sutton, getting into the conference before. My interview.
Hi. Caller, there seems to be an issue with the line. We're not hearing you clearly at all. I don't know if it's possible for you to...
I said, and based on the army, to meet them already, they need some more training. They need some more training, I need some more patrol better than that. I'm a
Jamaica. Based on what I know of in Jamaica, I travel to Antigua, all those places. The army in St. Kitts does already. Yes. When my patrol,
Well, caller, you know, I don't think it's fair to you that you continue because we really are having difficulty hearing what you're saying, and it's very important to me that I hear what you're saying so that whatever concerns or questions you have can be communicated to our panelists. So I would advise that you try again, maybe another phone line if possible, and move away from any device that you're using to listen to the program to. So please try again. We'll take another call at this time. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi.
Mr. Prime Minister and the panel, this is DJ Marisha. I heard the Prime Minister says, you see something, say something. Well, I see something, and I just want to let the Prime Minister know that as a concerned citizen in the diaspora, I am very interested in him as the Minister of National Security and the Prime Minister to update the country on the status of the matter with Lindsey Grant and those police officers. It appears as though that the DPP and the police commissioner is playing ping pong with those 3 pending charges. And I personally would like to see justice for everyone in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. So amongst many other things that I will not address tonight, I would appreciate it if the Prime Minister would give us a status, his position, what's going on with the Lindsey Grant matter. Because if the DPP or the Commissioner of Police is not capable of doing their job, they need to remove them and put somebody who can do it. But this matter needs to come to a close while we're talking about all this thing tonight and the year. Let's deal with that matter. Equal rights and justice in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis and the rule of law and order. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your contribution to the program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
To the panelists. My name is Sir Dr. Elvis Mills. I am happy for this program because I grew up with the police from 1978 as a little bad boy. And this program means a lot to me. I happened to was in the bathroom at the time when the first 3 panelists get to speak and also the Prime Minister. But the main reason for me to call in is that from 1980 to now, I never see no government or no leader of national security put so much resources into the police force. Look around in vehicles, training, the different buildings, repairing. Now, Sandy Point Police Station, since 1979, when you walk, they have to put panel board under the flooring from Mr. Benjamin as the magistrate, from dusk down in the face. And up to 20 years with the farmer government, no police station consider start, build, and I give the Prime Minister a special congratulations for 1 term to put down such a state-of-the-art building over the top of Sandy Point there. I drive down there from the time the digging starts. When I'm doing tours, I drive to there with the guests. I just hard to believe that within 1 term, a Prime Minister, a Minister of National Security, put down a building in Sandy Point, the courthouse, custom, fire, and still police. And why give people things when they're dead? I don't want to give him flowers or no good wishes when he's dead. If I have any criticism, I'm doing now he alive. And also when I have any congratulations to him and any recommendation, I will give him now. And I am saying that we need to let go the petty things in this country. The country is moving to compete with all the other countries throughout the region. Think it is booming. Yes, some people might not like what they're getting because everybody wants more and more, but I still believe that we should be contented and satisfied. I have 2 years not working, nobody hear me complain because only God listens to you. So any problem any one of us have should go to God. We should put it to God and we work out. And it's working out for me. I don't really care what people will say after, but I'm telling you, when I look at the police force, especially up in, what they call the place, Newcastle, they built a new police station I was over there 3 weeks ago. And when I look at people making criticism about not enough money, but the federal government take all the responsibility to give a salary to the firemen and the police over in Nevis. And also put down a new state-of-the-art building. Nobody tell me. I was there 3 weeks ago watching it. I stopped about 10 minutes watching it. And, you know, I mean, we must be fair. You have to Robert Bratcher, where only now we dead and buried, you hear people start talking about things. So, Prime Minister, just be strong, trust God, And don't be upset with nobody who criticizes you, because that is part of some people's nature. And if it's the nature, leave it with them. A former custom officer the other day tell me I'm a hypocrite. I will leave that for now. But I'm simply saying, be strong in God's hands, because I believe it can happen like Grenada in 1989 or 99. I can't remember the year, but one of them 2 years. Keith Mitchell had a minority government, went to the poll. He come back out with the R15. So it looked like it's going to happen with PLP in St. Kitts. It's going to be all late. Have a nice night.
You have a nice night as well. We take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good evening, Miss Jacqueline.
Yes, sir.
And good evening, Mr. Prime Minister, and your table there. Dr. Elvis, amen to that. Country is running good. Mr. Prime Minister, I have you highly commended up on cloud 9, because nowhere in the Caribbean you can look around and see any leader of any country has done what you have done in just 5 years. You are a God-sent man to run this country. And me, Mr. Culture here, I will always follow your footprint. Even if the water wash it off, I could see it still. Because you are great. And just what Dr. Elvis said, that you have done in the past 5 years, oh my God, every leader in the world should come and see what you have done. Now, you as the Minister of National Security, that again is something to be commended about. Because on October 16, 2011, a very popular, famous, well-loved Rastaman was gunned down in this country as he stepped out of his gate to go do his daily chores. And unto this present moment, the public is waiting to hear who killed that Rastaman. Because Scotland Yard detectives were down here, and I know that the police, when they went on the scene, they gathered shells. Where those shells, which gun those shells was fired from. And until now, we are still waiting. And according to an individual who said one time that Rastaman got shot down, in a couple of days' time, he was waiting to hear how he going to get his money. And that never happened. Next thing you hear, bam, shot to death. So we are still waiting to hear the result of the investigation of Scotland Yard. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for taking my call.
And thank you very much for participating in this evening's program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good night.
Good evening. You're live.
And good night, everyone in Leadership Matter. Also to the Prime Minister. This is Mr. Sutton. Put into the army. I'm a Jamaican. And before me go to Jamaica, thank you, I'm already. They're ready at all. They're not patrol good. And they don't look up a road. So this was Mr. Cotton lady from Antigua. I used to live in Antigua. Antigua Army, different totally from Saint Army, Mr. Sutton. So we don't need to do something better than that. When you come to the army are patrol, them are want and attack. There's no patrolling. Supposed to have patrol and watch each other back. Every night talk at the same thing. You don't gonna attack and laugh. You can't patrol as an army man. So we don't need to come better than that. Okay? So, Mr. Prime Minister, have a good night and enjoy yourself. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for contributing to this evening's program. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Hello, you're live. Okay, we'll take another call. We seem to have lost that call.
I'm here. I am here.
Okay. Happy to have you. You're live. You are live. You are live.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Jackie dear. Good evening, Honorable Prime Minister, the #1 Prime Minister in the Caribbean, and one of the best in the world after the Kennedys. Okay? Well, I love ladies always first. I have to thank Miss Marshall for the good work she's doing on the island of St. Kitts and Nevis, and have to take up and leave she rightful home in Antigua and come down here to St. Kitts, and she are doing she best. I know her personally by seeing her working and she always informing what she doing. Well, Mr. Sutton, Mr. Prime Minister, you have a good man there, Mr. Sutton. The other gentleman, I don't know him too well, but I know you will know me. So, but you have a good team, and you continue work with your team. Don't care what they say. At the election in call yet, you don't answer none of them. You leave that to rock, culture, manners, and Mr. Politics. You don't answer them. Leave the talent what you have for when the bell ring. Okay? So you continue concentrate on the federation and to see to it that people is getting through with the daily life and living and have something on the plate to eat. God bless you, sir, and bless your team what you have there. You all good night. Have a nice night.
Bless you.
You have a nice night as well. Do we have any additional calls? We can take our last caller? No? Okay. So we will... Hello?
No, you're not taking my call?
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
sir. Of course. As long as we have callers. You're live.
Okay. Yes, greeting.
We can hear you.
Okay, greetings. Okay, we have a situation where folk communities reach our shores. Perhaps not by legal means, but I really think that we, as a people, as a race, knowing our story, we just History Month. We know our story as a people, and I really feel like we should accommodate the folks from Haiti whenever they reach our shores. We can fit them into the workforce, in fields that they are comfortable with. I know the farmers will be glad to have some of them by their side for manpower, and I know homes will accommodate the ladies in whatever work is available. I really think that we should look into something like that. Give thanks for giving us blessed love.
In our program, we'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Hello? Okay.
Hi, good night, Daniel.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good night, Brian.
How are you?
Welcome back. New Year's greeting to you. You're doing a good job. My best Prime Minister, you two doing a very good job. Nobody can take it from you. God bless him, good health, strength, and protection. It's the good you're doing for the 7 years. Why all those visitors and investors want to come? Don't mind the marching and calling your name. It's God put you there. With all those money you're paying out, the same people get in. They could never do like you, no time. Congratulations on those lovely homes, what has been done over the years. How you get that do? We're not hearing about gastric. We are here for you. Thank God for you. The CCTVs are working, and Mr. Grant is not the only one doing bad in St. Kitts. Thank you. Have a good night. Get home, everybody safe.
Okay, I believe that was our last call for now. Unless we have any more? Okay. So we can answer some of the questions put forward by the callers at this time. And the first question goes to Major Sutton. The caller asked if the program, Alternative Lifestyle Program, Pathway Program, was achieving its objectives.
All right, thank you very much. That's a very important question, and I want to try to, go back to when I started on the program. When I got the offer to take over the program, I'm still a member of the Defense Force. I'm on secondment. I had to think about the offer for a while, and knowing the interactions and the dealings I've had with the at-risk individuals in our community, the gangs, and all that. We work closely with the police force. And over the years, I was like, wow, this is an opportunity where there isn't, it provides a platform for opportunity to do something different. And if we don't take it, then we're going to have to deal with bodies on the street. And I've had many years of that, And, in discussions with some of the participants, I tell them, I say, the victims, it's not just the victim, the dead person, or the families that are just the victims. We are victims as well, because there are some instances that you look back on and you remember what really happened, and, those memories come back and they haunt us. So I go to say, yes, the program has been successful, in my opinion. We live in a tranquil environment. The participants are engaged in life skills training, which is going to help them to establish legitimate lifelong businesses or endeavors. And we see a number of those already happening. Even though we just on a phase of the training, we have not completed the training. So I'm quite hopeful that, by the time we complete, we're going to have a lot more certified persons, in different skills areas that will be able to fill the workforce in the country. So like I said, we have reduction in loss of life. We have a lot more fathers who are able to, be around to take their children to school, to walk around on Posante in the evening with their children. And you see a lot of that. You see a lot of young people from different parts of the Federation walking around Basse, which was not possible before this intervention. So yes, the program is successful. We will continue to be successful if we continue to get support from the business sector and the general community as a whole. We are already getting support from persons, committing their time. These are private people who know that they have capabilities to help the at-risk individuals who are contributing their time. They're not being paid. They come, they leave their work, they leave their businesses, and they come to, reach out to help the at-risk individuals. So we're grateful for that, and we want people to continue to do that. And together we're going to be successful.
Thank you so much for your response. We have a question for Mrs. Nate Marshall, Director of the Forensic Department, asking what your major successes with the Forensic Department were, or recent major successes.
Well, I'd like to thank the caller for that question. Let me just express that our main motto for the Forensic Department is detection with a passion. And anyone who has come in contact with Mrs. Marshall realizes that Ms. Marshall is swarmed with passion for detection. And I try to dispel that with my technicians. So once we respond to scenes and it has forensic potential, we will produce. Now, our major successes, based on the statistics, we have solved quite a bit of murders from in 2018 to present via ballistics links, as from our lab. We, as I mentioned, our comparison microscope led by our ballistics examiner. So we've had major links in cases via ballistics. Rape. I am very passionate as a woman about sexual offense cases. And I have had serious experiences in Antigua where we were facing an issue of serial rapists, and I sat on panels where we were fighting to target rape, date rape, etc. So when I came to the Federation, I hit the ground running. And we linked quite a bit of sexual offense cases to perpetrators. As I mentioned, there was one perpetrator that was linked to actually 6 scenes, and that included rape, robbery from the person, and this is one person that was involved in all these sexual offenses. We also had hits via technology, which is our AFIS system. That's our lab is equipped, fully equipped, where we extract prints from scenes. Our technicians will go out. My technicians are very effective when it comes to lifting prints from scenes. Once we get that, we take that to the lab and we deal with processing. So we have had AFIS links. We have links through our AFIS machinery. So I can say we have been very, very effective with our collections. We have had major successes in various offenses. We have linked more than one case, and when you're a specialist and you can link matters together, that means you're doing something. So we have major successes and we will continue.
And just for the benefit of our listeners and viewers, can you remind us what AFIS stands for?
Sure. AFIS is the Automated Fingerprint Identification System. It's a general database where we would have our prints lifted from scenes, and that is funneled through this system. Unfortunately, we have to deal with policies where we have to now start looking at possibly mandatory fingerprinting and have to put that in the government's lap. But our general database system, prints that go into the AFIS are funneled through that system. So when our technicians collect prints from a scene, it is entered into our system and it funnels as a database. So that is what the AFIS system is.
Thank you so much for that. And Mr. Marishaw, who is the Acting Telecommunications Officer with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, you were asked if the CCTV program or cameras are achieving their objectives.
To answer that question, the CCTV program is achieving the goal. We are meeting the aim that was introduced for. They have helped us solve many crimes. They have helped us in investigation of accidents and also identify perpetrators when there are no eyewitness and persons fail to give information to the police. So the program is beneficial to the police and it is doing its job, to answer the question in short.
And what you're seeing on your screen while Mr. Marisha was speaking was an idea. Oh yeah, it's up on the screen now, and that's from the CCTV cameras. That is 4th Street that you're looking at, and the quality of the camera is a very high quality, as Mr. Marisha would have indicated, as a result of the fiber optics, you said, Mr. Marisha?
Yes, the fiber optics.
Fiber optic cable. We have a question, Mr. Prime Minister, asking for an update on the matter with Mr. Lindsey Grant and the officers.
I want to thank the Marisha for posing that question and to say, like him, we all are concerned that justice is seen to be done always and will be done. The good governance agenda has been a critical part of what distinguishes the Team Unity administration. And I would say to him that to get to justice, though, a process has to be transparently be undergone. And that process is in fact in place. And so he should wait and not prejudge the outcome. The Commissioner of Police, to his credit, has said that he has completed his investigation. And we wait to see the next phase with that matter. At the last press conference, Mr. Grant did say that it is a live matter. So the matter has not yet reached its finality. And let's wait and let the process take its course. I have full confidence in the ability and the competence of the police force in general and in the leadership of Commissioner Brandy, and I have full confidence in our judicial system. So there is no need for concern and for premature judgment on a matter that is live.
Mr. Prime Minister, the first caller asked primarily about objectives and successes of the various departments and programs represented here this evening. As the Minister of National Security, would you like to add to anything that was said?
Well, I think the panelists, each one has commended himself and herself, in the case of Mrs. Marshall, in terms of their work. What I would say that generally and broadly speaking, there's a new environment of peace, safety, and stability in the country, which sometimes we take for granted. Major Sutton, I should remember, is now elevated beyond captain to major. But Major Sutton made the point, what was before? There were times that when you listened, and I listened, every night there was wailing and screaming in Bastia. Almost every night. The Strip was a dangerous place to visit. And in fact, almost any night, business would close early. There was a terrible insecurity in the land, and everyone wondered, when will this end? We had achieved the dubious distinction of being dubbed the murder capital of the world. I am happy that in good time, because we were bold enough and courageous enough to do what was necessary, we have been able to reverse the situation that was and to put our country in a stronger and safer place. We reversed what was because we also found that there was an insufficiency of finance being accorded to law enforcement having regard to where we were. When I took over as Minister of National Security, we had, for example, dilapidation everywhere. I usually give the example of what to me typified the mindset of the administration then. Within 2 minutes walk from the residence of the then Prime Minister of the country was the St. Paul's police station. It was one of the worst police stations in St. Kitts and Nevis and perhaps in the world. If you touch a switch, you got shot. If water, rain came, no police officer was safe. And when you imagine that that could happen in the backyard, so to speak, of a sitting Prime Minister who held responsibility for national security for the longest period of time, then you could understand why other things would happen, while the police station in Old Road would go into decadence. You could well understand why building a modern police station in Sandy Point was not a priority for 20 years. And you could well understand that in every area, Keon Police Station, all of them, all without exception, including the police headquarters, they were all in a state of disrepair. But it was not just the police, it was the whole system across police, defense force, the investment we had to do there with barracks, Coast Guard facilities. We are now doing something brand new, taking a little while to finish, but hopefully this year we will have a brand new facilities. Investment in vehicle that we had to make both at the Defense Force and for the police. The new fire trucks that we brought in for St. Kitts and Nevis. The significant investment that we had to make was an indication of how far we had allowed the apparatus, the system, to fall behind. And so we had to come and do what was needed. But beyond the systems, critical as they are, because without a favorable environment, production and productivity will be low. So we tried to create that. We engage in substantive training. In fact, for a while under the former administration, the training of recruits had come to an end. We revived that with some consistency, and almost every year we are having what you will call the passing out parades. They have become a regular feature of our investment in the human resource program, where training has taken on a new pace and a new management system, where we are developing specialists in a number of areas. And we heard the high commendation with Mrs. Marshall Lake, or Lake Marshall, gave to her co-workers tonight as an indication of what we have been able to do in a consistent basis. And then beyond these things are the new programs. We have said really that based on where we were, we could take nothing off the table, because the existing methods and approaches had not brought us to a successful management of crime in the country. We had to bring new innovations. I spoke to two of them. Those which were engaged, we had a situation where the gunmen, the gangsters, the criminals were inducting our young people in primary schools to help them carry the illicit substances, the illicit products through the system. We found that our young women were just as involved in illegal activities as were the males. They too were being lured into it. And so it was a state of play that couldn't long survive. And I'm happy by taking the steps that we have taken, we have seen an improvement. Even when you go into our schools, the schools are asking for our community police to come, because they have seen the difference that it has made in other communities and in other schools. And that is why today we could have the largest number of young people engaged in structured program in St. Kitts and Nevis under the Explorers Youth Club. That is an amazing achievement to have had. And it is an area which normally police would not be involved with. Maybe community development. Maybe you get them somewhere. Some of them perhaps in cadet. Cadets had long diminished. You perhaps would have gotten some of them in some program with the Seventh-day Church or Seventh-day Adventist Church. Nothing now compares in terms of impact to what the Explorers Club has been able to do for our young people. But to me, most importantly, is that we have sought to keep them away from harm, to develop in them a positive attitude to law enforcement. We are developing with them the ability to learn to live with one another, because the gang system thrives and people not being able to tolerate one another, keeping them apart and victimizing them. And we are, in a sense, stopping our young people, preventing them and encouraging them away from that particular life. And then the mature ones, with whom Coyote Sutton is dealing with on a daily basis, we are trying to say to them, that part in which you are engaged would lead to certain death. That's one thing we know. Every gangman would eventually become victim of the crimes they have perpetrated and others. And so we have tried through that particular program to give them an alternative, to give them a second chance and a third chance. And so, because in the end we are too small a country to lose any of our human resource, any of our citizens and residents to reckless behavior and to wanton abandon. And so there is where we are at. So when I look at the program, I look at results. I said that to Commissioner Quealy. It is not my job to come and conduct an investigation and to get updates. The result will speak for itself. My job as Minister of National Security is to mobilize the resources in support of a well-defined and articulated strategy for crime reduction, for enhancement of the detection rate, because that in itself serves as a deterrent to crime. And so today, coming from a high of 35 to a low of 10 in 2020 and 13, I think we could all feel a sense that the investments that we have made, that those investments are yielding a peace dividend for our citizens, for the visitors to our shows, to our society. And the last point I will set on this matter, sometimes living in the environment, we do not appreciate it as much. We listen to people who have come and they said to me, Prime Minister, we are so pleased. There was a time then they were afraid to engage others, because when their friends and co-workers were asking them abroad what was happening to their beloved country, for them it was a moment of shame at the level at which we had reached. We give God thanks that we have been able to, as it were, make a change and to put law and order, safety and security in the right direction.
Would either you or Major Sutton be able to speak to the concerns about how patrols are conducted by the Army, and someone made an appeal that we should try to accommodate Haitians when they arrive at our shores?
I think the first one would be for Major, and perhaps even Marisha, perhaps even Marshall. They are people more intimate in terms of those matters. The one on the Haitians is a policy position really though, and the policy everywhere that borders are sacred. And we should not allow persons to enter willy-nilly in our borders, because there are significant breaches and illegal activities that can happen. By not defending borders, we could give rise to human trafficking, where people just bring people in illegally against their will, etc., etc. And thirdly, and secondly and importantly, especially in the context of infectious diseases, we become vulnerable to that. The borders help to protect us, help to enhance the sovereignty of the country, and help to give us some certainty about what is happening in our jurisdiction. I will say our immigration policy is humane. And those who come, genuine cases requiring support, we are bound by our international obligations to offer that support. In terms of the Haitians, they are our brothers and sisters. We love them. And in fact, St. Kitts and Nevis has become a home to hundreds of Haitians. And we know they mourn and they hurt and the pain. In fact, they have reached out to me after recent developments in Haiti. Haiti, in some cases, has become a tragedy for us within the region, having regard to the bright history of one of the independent state, first black countries to have achieved its independence, to have been struggling and not being able to provide adequate protection and support for its citizens. And so our spirit and our love for them will guide us to bring the most humane policy in place. I am not sure that the way in which the caller would want it to be expressed, that would be the best way. But certainly I would say that we will be humane, we will be considerate, and we must protect our national interests with whatever policy we bring in place. There are sensitivities when we say directly that we will bring people to work, because obviously the next question comes, well, what about people here? And so those are all matters within the realm of the Immigration Department, and they will apply the policy and, most importantly, the law in a way that makes sense.
Thank you so much for that, Major Sutton.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Madam on the patrol conducted by the Defense Force is a very tricky question to answer. But I will tell the caller that the Defense Force is in support of the police force, and the Defense Force is a professional force. We conduct our operations based on the tempo that exists within whatever situation we're dealing with. Now, you cannot look at what is happening in Antigua or how they operate in Antigua and compare it with how we operate here. How we used to operate before, or even in Jamaica or Guyana or anywhere, or Trinidad. How we used to operate before we started experiencing this calm was totally different from what is happening now. Because you find out that we used to mount a lot of support operations with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force in the different troubled areas, and the tempo was high, but there is no need for the tempo to be high now. Although we have those capabilities, if we need to use them, I hope we don't have to, then the tempos change. But you cannot just go and harass people if there is no crime that is being committed or if there is no suspicion of crime being committed. The situation, as the caller related to the caller said he's from Jamaica. When you see soldiers patrolling in Jamaica, you think there is war. They do not, they are well armored, they're well kitted out and everything. So the situation dictates. That is the point I'm trying to make. So we continue to support the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force with our daily security operations, and the security operations are ongoing. It's not that we are laid back in it, because there's still areas that needs to be covered and so forth. So that is how we run it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We're going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, we'll go to the WhatsApp messages. Just to remind you, there might still be time for you to get your messages in. If you have any existing concerns or questions that haven't been answered, the numbers are 661-5683, that's 661-5683, or 660-7168, that's 660-7168. We'll be right back.
NHC ePay is our online payment platform that allows you to make payments directly to NHC, get access to your account balance, have access to your payment history, and interact with our customer service department through the help desk feature. NHC ePay is secure, sleek, and simple to use. It can be accessed by going to our website www.nhc.kn, using your mobile phone, tablet, or desktop, and clicking on Pay Online. For our existing customers who wish to make payments online, the process is simple. Sign up for ePay. Provide your address and contact number. This information will be used by our customer service department to verify your identity. During the verification process, our customer service department may need to call you to complete the process. Once verified, your account will be activated and an email will be sent confirming your activation. Once activated, you will use the username or the email used during the sign-up and the password to access your account. Once logged in, click on Pay Your Bill to make payments to your account. All receipts of payments made within ePay will automatically be emailed to you, and you will also have access to them via the payment history link in your account. Feel free to use the help desk feature to contact the customer service department on any issue with your account or any other questions you may have related to NHC. We are pleased to make this service available to you, our customers, and look forward to as much customers signing up, which would not only provide 24/7 access to your NHC account, but provide a secure and easy way to interact with NHC.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters. My name is Jacqueline Bryan. I'm your moderator this evening. And Leadership Matters is hosted by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. His special guests this evening are the coordinator for the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program, or ALPP, Major Coyote Sutton, the director of the Forensic Department with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Latoya Lake Marshall, and the acting telecommunications officer, also with the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force, Julian Marishaw. And this is the part of the program where we look at the WhatsApp messages and we respond to any questions, concerns that have been raised there. So the first question that we have from the WhatsApp messages that have been sent, this one, Mr. Prime Minister says, "Good night to one and all. The PM promised me that he will give an update on the step workers going over to the government payroll." Mr. Prime Minister, very persistent.
All right, I want to thank the caller for that kind and gentle reminder.
That question is almost a staple, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes, and I would say that I think on Monday we have the Accountant General who chairs that committee coming to Cabinet to make a presentation. He will be accompanied, of course, by other members of the committee, John from Legal Department, John from the Personnel Department, etc. Once that presentation is made, then I will be in a better position to fulfill the commitment that I've made. And so in my next press conference, which most likely may be next week, I will give the official position regarding the regularization of the step workers. So thank you for giving us the reminder, but we have it in our minds and it is being actively pursued as we speak.
We have a question, Mr. Marisha, asking who is funding the CCTV program in Nevis?
Well, to answer the question, the CCTV program in Nevis was funded by the government of St. Kitts and Nevis in collaboration with the government of China and Taiwan. However, it was the installation aspect of the program was funded by the Nevis Island Administration through the Department of Information Technology.
Just one slight correction: the Republic of China, Taiwan, as opposed to China, Taiwan, and China.
Thanks for the correction.
Yeah, Republic of China.
Thank you so much.
Taiwan.
We have a question, Major Sutton, saying that you spoke about a database for persons traumatized by violence. They want to know what that is about.
Okay, traumatization occurs in various ways. Could be from various crime or violent commissions, and the data such is important so that you can develop a holistic social intervention strategy to cater for them. Because persons who would have experienced, who would have been traumatized, might end up suffering in silence, and that does not mean that they are not important. Just like those marginalized persons and at-risk persons within the community. So we want to be able to reach out to everybody. It's a holistic social intervention strategy. That's what the data is for, so that we'll be able to find out and know exactly how far we have to reach and who is affected, and that they benefit from the intervention.
Thank you so much for that. Mrs. Lake Marshall, we have a few questions for you. The first one asking, what are your plans for the department going forward? And they note that Antigua recently put forth information that they are going to be creating a forensic lab, and they want to know if you will be returning to Antigua in short order.
Okay. I have a lot of plans set forward for my department. Training is of utmost importance One of my aim is towards specialization in various jurisdictions of the forensics field. As I had mentioned, forensic anthropology, bringing the lab up to the standards of DNA testing. So I have a long schedule for my team. Upgrading us to a level that we're at an international standard where now I would be able to dispel my technicians and we can go to other Caribbean territories, even to work along internationally, advancing. Yes, Antigua is going forward with forensics, but at this time, my loyalty is to the Federation of St. Kitts. I am here, I've been here for 3 years. I have a lot in store, and I have no intention of turning my back on my team at this time. They have worked very hard. We have been through a lot of tears, we've been through a lot of struggles, and our successes are there to show. Yes, I'm Antiguan, and I will support my counterparts in Antigua as I have done. I've assisted my counterparts in Antigua, have also assisted us. We actually have a specialist in the person of Mr. Cordis. He came over to the shores here in St. Kitts and assisted me with training in advanced fingerprint for my staff. He also acts as an expert with analyzing prints that we would have gotten for expert testimony. So my loyalty at this time is with the Federation because we have a lot of work in store. I have a lot of training. I'm trying to recruit, and we're bringing St. Kitts and Nevis to a level and a standard, and I wouldn't be moving until I've accomplished my task. If you would have me, I would stay.
We also have a question asking what factors you take into consideration when you are devising your detection rate.
Okay, well, forensic-wise, we look at the rate and level of detection, as in DNA, ballistics. What we do, once we have a hit, we would then go to another expert, like for instance with ballistics. We would counterpath with an advisor from the ATF, and they will look at our results and will combine. Now the strength and level of solvability, that is how we determine our statistics. As you know, we would have to do our solvability via biological means, techniques, applications, and so on. Now, DNA testing is done in the UK for us because we don't have the capacity to do it here. So once we have the effective collecting process and scenes are processed properly, once we send it over to the international labs, they will give us the level of detection. So they usually give us a rating system, and that rating system would say highly probable, extremely strong, etc. And by the reports from our labs, counterparts, and so on, that is how we determine our level of detection. So a positive is a positive. Negative, whether low level or so, we know that we do have that. Our results also are relied on solely by the courts. So once our reports go to your Director of Public Prosecutions, he will look at our results, he will look at our reports, he will also look at the further analysis from another expert and combine. So this, I put all this together and combine, and this is how we work along with our solvability. Also connected to the investigators, remember we work hand in hand. So once we do have someone who commits a crime and they're arrested and charged and go before the courts, we also look at that further. But forensically, we look at the level of solvability for the links that we create.
And the final question for you is, the person is asking, what is detection, and is it the same as the matter being solved?
Well, detection is, well, as it applies to us, forensically, once we collect exhibits and so on and we do our processing, what the results that we get is actually detection for us, okay? It would be different as it pertains to an investigator. But remember, biologically, our job is to solve via the sciences. So detection would be the results that we get from the exhibits that we collect. So that is what we mean when we say that, as it pertains to us, to a forensic specialist.
Okay, thank you so much for that. You mentioned ATF earlier. Could you remind us of what ATF stands for?
Okay, so the ATF is actually the Association of for Technicians and Firearms. So they basically deal with responding to us when it comes to firearms, anything with ballistics and so on. So that agency is who we communicate with for specialists who would look also at our work and relay.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time out to explain all of that. And I'm happy we were able to get through the questions and concerns and recommendations that were put to the panelists and the Prime Minister. We have the final set of questions here for the Prime Minister. And in asking these, Mr. Prime Minister, I think we can also lead into your wrap-up. They're not specifically related to the conversation. So just to let persons know that is, and then we'll bring the program to a close. So there's no way I could paraphrase this one, so I have to read it. It says, Mr. Prime Minister, good night. How do you get what you're doing done? For example, how do you keep the gangs at peace? Why do you stay so humble from all the negativity that speaks about you when doing so good? Why don't you accept the title, the King of Prime Ministers, for all the good you have done and are doing, especially being the only Prime Minister in the region who gives a double salary during the pandemic? God bless you, Mr. PM, from a good friend. Mr. Prime Minister.
I want to thank the good friend for sending those questions, but generally, I think I'm motivated by the huge challenges and opportunities that are there in St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm motivated by people. To me, I am in the people's business, understanding people, protecting people, helping people. And it comes naturally because I am a servant of the people. And so I perhaps go beyond the call of duty daily in attempting to find answers. For me, there are many questions, many challenges. And as the leader, the job of the leader is to help with the solutions. And usually that takes a lot of time and effort. When, for example, we were faced with the challenges of crime in the country, you ask, how do you do that? How do you take a bold and courageous step in a matter which in itself controversial, because it is novel here in terms of the peace initiative, for example. But when you look at all that was working and was not working, you know that you couldn't take this off the table. And you may say, well, it's a gamble, but it's a gamble that has now paid off. It was a gamble on behalf of the victims of crime. It was a gamble on behalf of all those who had lost their way. And when you look at it realistically, why does a child become bad? Why? And you begin to understand that in the end, every child that has become bad, quote unquote, is a victim of the system, is a product of our environment, is a result of some failure somewhere, some inadequacy in the family who could not care for him or her. some inadequacy in our school that allow the child perhaps to move from one stage to another, ill-prepared for the transition, for example, from primary into secondary school. And a number of children who have signs of disabilities that are not easily picked up. And as a result, they go on the wrong road and the wrong path. It requires then an acceptance of the society that we owe a duty of care. And it was that duty of care to all the people of St. Kitts and Nevis that allowed me, as a leader of the country, as a minister of national security, to say, yes, this is an initiative that we will try. And we will not just try it, we will be prepared to put money to ensure that it works. And I ask myself the question, can you put a price, a dollar value on the life? Do we understand the consequence for the development of the country when we have 3 homicides? That was what we were averaging in 2011, every month. When we had the kind of wanton shooting on the strip in front of our churches, what it did to our society, to our people, to our self-confidence. And the answer was, these were things that we had to deal with, and we should try everything, do everything in our power. So out of that, the courage came. And as you meet people and interact with them, I spoke about the lady. It was on a Juve morning. She came up to me outside of Rams. She said, continue to do what you are doing. There was another lady I met on a flight to Miami, and we engaged. In the end, I recognized who she was from up at the village. She told me the story of how embarrassing it was in the past to have to attempt to explain to her friends and fellow Kittitians and Nevisians what was happening in our country. And when she saw the dramatic reduction in the crime, that was occasioned not exclusively but in part by the success of the program, which Major Sutton is now coordinating. She said, don't bother with people. Continue to do what you have to do, because this was making a difference to the people and to the country. And so I would be focused because that's me by nature. I would be humble because I can't be anything else. I have always been humble. I grew up poor with a lot of brothers and sisters, 33 at my father's end, who helped in filling gaps, the sacrifices we made, and we came out stronger and better for it. All that has helped me to see both the upside and the downsides of life, and to be able to find that happy medium, if you will. And so, again, when you are serving people, you can't afford to be condescending about people's circumstances. And very early as a politician, I accepted that. I understood sometimes people ask, well, why are you with this person and he does all these things? For me, a voter is a voter. Everyone is equal, and everyone requires the support and the service. And that has been a philosophy that has guided me in some of the things that I have done. Some of them have led to criticism, but they are the right thing for the country. And even when we speak of this program, it took courage to put on a show in which you could come transparently, let the people ask the question, because we have nothing to hide. And because we are comfortable with it. We are comfortable that it has generated results. And the country has been better for it. And we are attempting to reduce the level of criminality. We are attempting to ensure that those who had served their time when they come out of prison, they have opportunities for re-engagement. And this requires not just the public sector, but also the private sector to be involved. It requires us also to begin to relook and overhaul a number of the regulations governing, for example, access to work in the private sector. People with criminal record, because we are in a part of many chances. The question was asked, how many times must a man be forgiven? 70 times 7. How many times? A lot of times then. We must be forgiven. And in that forgiveness, we apply grace to give people the opportunity to explore again. Those people who were once, quote unquote, in the gangs. Sutton spoke about them having a desire, and I find, having engaged them, they want to be loving fathers. They want to do for their children what their own fathers neglected to do. Take them to school, prepare for them, have them in their homes. These are real people with real expectations of a stronger and safer future. And part of the resolve of my administration is to deliver that future to all. Not just the quote-unquote good people, the nice people, the bright people, but all of our citizens must feel the confidence, the support of the government once they are pursuing legitimate activities. And that is one of the reasons why we have remained focused in spite of the criticism regarding the peace program. That is one of the reasons that we have remained focused in spending millions of dollars in our Explorers program. We built a headquarters in the back of the land, if you will, in Phillips. Put it over there for good reason. But it was an investment in young people and in their future. So I am very happy for what we have been able to do. And the titles in the end, they don't really matter to me, because I consider myself first and foremost a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. And my ability to contribute, my love for country, my enduring patriotism does not come from being the Prime Minister, but comes from being a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. For me, it's the highest title that we can have, to be a citizen of the country and to carry that as a badge of honor. I want then to close by saying thanks to the panelists, Major Sutton, our forensic director, Lady Marshall, our acting director of communications, Mr. Marisha, for coming and again sharing with the public the good work that has been done by our people for the benefit of all of us in St. Kitts and Nevis. And each of the panelists, they have exhibited the humility in service, and I want to commend them for their work and commend all our citizens to do the best we can for our country, to commend all our young people to think positively about life, and to be very alert to opportunities that are emerging in this the land of our birth, and to seize them. To God we give thanks and glory.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. That question has been coming up a lot, people asking, how do you get it all done? So thank you for taking the time out to tell them how and why it's important to you. And I want to thank all of you for staying with us this evening and joining the program. We look forward to hearing from you when we return. This has been Leadership Matters, which is hosted by the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. And my name is Jacqueline Bryan. I was your moderator this evening, and I'm wishing you a blessed evening and to take care.
There you have it, folks, another edition of Leadership Matters here on FM 98.9. We now head back to our regular programming.
Found the sound, 98.9 FM.
To avoid getting the coronavirus,